All right, so let's start here with financial literacy. So before you copy anything, I'm going to switch to my math lab. Not understanding why I can't see my stuff. Okay. I hope for some reason it's not showing my math lab window. All right. So here we are. So we're looking at 2.4. All right, so here we are. Don't copy down these numbers. I have my own numbers that I've done work on, so we'll just go through those numbers. Numbers that I made notes off of, but it's the same problem. It says recall that the PE ratio is the ratio of the price per share to the earnings per share, including earnings from the past 4 quarters. And I want to read that way, but including earnings from the past 4 quarters. Compute the PE ratios of the following companies. So A, it says the share price is $12.31 and the earnings per share is 61 cents. So let's go back to the notes. So in the problem that I've done before, created my notes off of the share price was $15.71. Earnings per share was 72 cents. All right. So the way we can do this, we can set it up, look at it this way. If we want to know the price per share is $15.71, earnings per share is 72 cents. So if we want to know when earnings per share is $1, what will X be? So we can set it up according to this ratio right here. Price per share on top, earnings per share on bottom. So we just have to stay consistent as far as setting up our ratio when we set up our proportion. So 1571 over 72 cents, and then that X over 1 being the other fraction. So that's what we have going on here. All right. Now X over 1 is just X. So divide 1571 by the 0.72, be 21.8. And that would be your PE ratio. Also pay attention to the directions. It'll tell you sometimes to round to the cent, round to the, well, not round to the nearest cent, round to the nearest tenth, or round to the nearest dollar. So make sure you round properly. If you do not, then it will mark it wrong. So make sure you watch that. This one is said round to the nearest tenth. All right, so let's look at B. The share price is $33.39. There are 1.5 billion shares. The company made 5.25 billion in profit over the 12 past months. All right. So in this problem, first thing you would do is divide the company profit by its number of shares. So the problem I had $9.9 billion divided by the 2.2 billion shares, and that's $4.50. So this company's earnings is $4.50 per share. All right, so then we can set it up like we did the last one, that x over 1. And then that 29.71 came from problem B. So let me see. Yep. So here in B, they gave us 33.39. In my problem, they gave me 29.71. So that's where that number comes from. So just let you know where that 29.7 came from. So that'll be x equal to 29.71 divided by 4.50. That'd be 6.6. Any questions? All right, the next one says the share price is $456.59. And over each of the past 4 quarters, the company made, $2.43, 166, 171, 224 in earnings per share. So in this one, the first thing we'll do is add all of your earnings per share for each quarter. So I had 193, 181, 193, 181, 164, 247. That gave me 7.85. Then I take the number that he gave in C, which was, for me, it was 448.98 divided by 7.85. And that gave me 57.2.
Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
You said you got that number from where, NC?
Which number?
40.
Okay. Let me go back to the share. This one, you see how I see it says the share price is, in this case, is 456.59.
Mm-hmm.
That's the number right there. My numbers are different because I already created notes for this. I'm just showing you how the problem is set up in my math notes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. So in this case, if I were to use these numbers, I would add up 243, 166, 171, 224, and then divide that number into the 456.59. Is that I'm not sure what that face is. Is that an okay face or not?
I have to come back and look at the video again.
You sure?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you don't want me to keep going. You don't want me to take up more time. You want me going? Okay. All right. Any questions before we look at the next one? Make sure we're all right. Mr. Williams, didn't you email me yesterday?
I did.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll respond today. Well, it was yesterday. I get 24 hours. All right, so let's look at the next one. Number 2. It says the company XYZ closed at 54.31 per share with a PE ratio of 18.44. How much earnings were the earnings per share? All right, so let's go to the notes. All right, so earnings per share, the way we'll calculate is we'll take the share price divided by the PE ratio. All right, so in mine, the share price was 54.12 and the PE ratio was 19.12. So divide those out, that'll give you your earnings per share, 2.85. Questions on A before we look at B? Now it says, does the stock seem overpriced, underpriced, or about right given the historical PE ratio is 12 to 14. So we have a PE ratio of 18.44 here. My PE ratio, the last was 19.12. So we can get the same result. Since 19.12 is greater than, and I put the whole range 12 to 14. Well, basically the 19.12 is greater than the 14. That means it's overpriced. So if your PE ratio was in between 12 to 14, it'll be just about right. Or just about right. And if that PE ratio was less than 12, then it would have been underpriced. Questions on B. If your PE ratio is greater than 14, it's overpriced. If it's in between 12 and 14, just about right. Or if it is 12 or 14 as well, inclusive, I should say, just about right. Then if it's less than 12, it's underpriced. All right, so let's look at another one. That's the same type of problem we just did. That's a conceptual one. I'll let you do that. All right, here. If it cost $12 to fill a gas tank in 1990, how much would it have cost to fill the same tank in 2010? So we have this chart here, price as a percentage of 1990 price. Okay, gotcha. So I think this one, let's go to the notes. So what we'll do here is use the price as a percentage and multiply it by the cost. So I'll erase this and do it according to the chart that we have. So make sure we see how the chart works. All right, so go back to, so we want to look at 2010 and get the percentage. We see that's 230.9%. Let me write that down. All right, so that's 230.9%. Let's go back. All right, so 230.9%. Don't forget to carry your decimal to the left 2 spots so that you can get rid of your percent sign. Then we're going to multiply that 2.309 times, what are we dealing with? 12. All right. 2.309 times 12. That'll be 27.708, which is 27.71. Yep, says round to the nearest cent. All right, questions with the process. So pull the value from the chart for that year that's in question, convert the percentage to decimal, then multiply it times the price that you're trying to convert. All right. So let's look at 2.410. All right. Okay, here we go. So suppose you needed 15,000 to maintain a particular standard of living in 1975. How much would you have needed in 2003 to maintain the same standard of living? Assume that all prices have risen at the same rate as the CPI. All right. So we're looking at 1975 to 2003. We'll come back to the chart. I want to show you how we're going to set this thing up. And I'm going to erase this stuff. All right, so the way we'll set this up is that we're going to look at, and we need to stay consistent in how we set up our proportion. So we're going to look at price in X over the price in year, and then take the CPI from the chart for each one of those years. So this X represents a year, a certain year, whatever year you're trying to compare, and then Y represents the other year that you're trying to compare. So in this problem, we're looking at 1975 and 2003. All right. And so, like I said, you just have to make sure you stay consistent, just like we did in the last proportion setup. My X information, so if I'm calling 1975 X, my 1975 information will be on top, and my 2003 information will be down bottom. All right. So suppose you needed 15,000 in 1975. So I'm gonna go back down there and put in 15,000. Then go back to my share. And in 1975, my CPI was 53.8. And in 2003, CPI is 184.0. Questions on what we have extracted from the chart and the problem so far? All right, so price in 1975 is 15,000. We don't know what the price is in 2003, so I call that P. CPI in 1975 is 53.8 and 184.0 in 2003. All right, questions? All right, so now we can cross multiply. Whenever you have a proportion set up, you can always cross multiply in order to solve. All right, so on the left, that'd be 15,000 times 184.0 equal to P times 53.8. 15,000 times that 184.
Are you showing your work on the PowerPoint?
Oh, not being shared?
No.
Oh, I'm still on homework. Thank you. Well, at least the video would see it when y'all look at the video. All right, so I set up the proportion. Now let me go back. I saw something in the chat. That might be what somebody was saying in the chat. You're still on my map. Okay. Thanks. Appreciate it. Sorry about that, guys. As far as not sharing screen. Okay, so let's double back. So you set up your proportion according to what we were saying here, price in 1975 over the price in 2003, CPI of 1975 over the CPI of 2003. So that's how I set up my proportion right here. So the price was 15,000 in 1975. We don't know what the price is in 2003. That's why I called it P. Then CPI is 53.8 for 1975, 184 for 2003. Whenever you have your proportion set up, or once you have your proportion set up, you can always cross multiply. So I did the 184 times 15,000 and then P times 53.8. And so that's where we are right now. All right, so now, if I can erase that, I want to erase. So let's go ahead and divide by 53.8. Trying to erase the stuff you won't erase. All right, so it cancels out here. And then 2,760,000 divided by 53.8 is 51301.152. And if I'm not mistaken, it said round to the nearest dollar. So 51,301. All right. Questions on that one before we do at least one more like that? All right. Yeah, I thought I did at least one more. Okay, so let's look at the next one. Share. All right. All right, so 215, very similar to it. They give us the chart, CPI chart, Consumer Price Index. Supposed admission to a movie cost $9 in 2008. What was its price in 1985? So we're looking at 2008 and 1985. Here we got 2007. So I'm gonna erase this stuff. All right, so let me go back to it. It says in 2008, the cost was $9. We want to know how much it cost in 1985, so that's going to be our P. CPI in 2008 is 215.3. And then CPI in 1985, 107.6. So of course we get all that from the chart that we just took a look at. All right. So just like I said before, we can just have to be consistent in what we're going to do. I'm going to put my 2008 information on top, 1985 information on bottom. So it's going to be $9 on top, P on bottom equal to 215.3, 107.6. Questions on the setup. Once again, I think I mentioned this class, but there are a couple different ways you can set up this proportion. I just gave you an easy way to think about it in this case. So put all your same year information on top and the other information on bottom. So now we can cross multiply. 9 times that 107.6, P times 215.3. All right, 9 times 107.6, 98.4. I said 98.4. 968.4. Divide by the 215.3 that's attached to the P. So 215.3, and that is 4.4979. All right. And they want us to round that to the nearest cent, I believe. Yep. So that would be 4.50. Questions. All right. So looking at the next few, they're very similar to that. So in the back end, it may be a few different ones, but just like I said before, I don't want to do all of your homework without you taking a look at it first. So check this stuff out. See if you have any questions. See if you get stuck on anything, and then we can address, any questions accordingly. Also, notice that that's 2.4, so that's it for chapter 2. So once again, make sure you're getting in there and getting these assignments done, even if you still haven't ironed out all the details. I know in my other class, I have some people that are still having issues with the Excel getting downloaded, and they're supposed to be, they got a plan now. So even if you're having issues with the Excel stuff and the Excel assignments, we can work on that. But the other stuff, really, there's no reason why you can't get that knocked out. 1.1 homework, 1.2 homework, 1.3 homework, and so on. The assignments that has nothing to do with Excel, you should be able to do those with no issues if you can get into my math lab. So knock those out. You don't want to have, you want to have the least amount of stuff to worry about as possible. So what you don't want to do is have, you know, stuff that you could have done just sitting out there when, you know, it didn't have to be. So also, hold on, let me see something real quick. So also, don't forget the way we're doing the not the homeworks, the Excel assignments. You see we got 1.1 right here, and then you got 1.2 right here. But in between that, you have 3 Excel assignments. Remember, you only held responsible for 1 Excel assignment between each section. All right, so going back here. So basically you have your homework. In between that, you should be doing at least one of those Excel assignments. 1.2, 1.3, in between there, you should be doing 1 Excel assignment. Then I think there's a review here. So in between the review and the 1.3, you should at least do one Excel assignment. And so that's how you're going to be processing what you should be doing. And if you want to do extra credit, there are multiple Excel assignments that you can do. Let's say even if you were to do great here, but this one you didn't do that well, do one of these for extra, you know, so that you can make up for it or something like that. So you want to knock out these Excel assignments. I done cut back, scaled it back, so you guys can, like I said, just so that you only have to do at least one in between each one of the sections as you progress forward. So questions, concerns, comments, anything, anybody, or are we all good? Everybody good, everybody straight. So next class, we will be looking at starting 3.1. Unless you guys have questions, if you come to the class with questions, of course, I'll address those first. Now, if you have Excel questions, oh, that's another thing. Don't forget to, if you need, you know, just like with office hours, if you need to meet with me, I have been meeting with people outside of class time. Shoot me an email so we can set that up. We're not going to always have time at the end of class to, you know, talk about whatever it is you need to talk about. So always feel free to email me so that we can make sure you're straight, especially if you're talking about Excel stuff, because there may be like individual stuff or, you know, that you might want to talk about, or might not want to feel like you're, you know, behind or whatever. Shoot me the email so we can discuss it and make sure that you are straight moving forward. So with that being said, if you guys are good, I'm good. I mean, we could jump into chapter 3. I'm trying to give you guys a chance before we just, you know, have a whole bunch of stuff just out there to get this stuff done, you know, in a decent way. So we'll do 3.1 next class. If you have some questions, feel free to stay back. If not, I will see you on next class. Have a good one.